So I'm pretty sure by now most people are quite familiar with what a short squeeze is, since it was all over the news for, happening on GameStop, on AMC, on Express, being pumped up by Wall Street bets. But what people don't understand and really realize is that short squeezes happen quite frequently within the small cap market, and they're fairly easy to identify. And if you're a long biased trader, then you really need to learn how to trade these, because I can tell you right now, my biggest profits always come from short squeezes. So being able to identify when shorts are trapped and being able to identify, how explosive a stock can be will really help you grow your account and see those big profit days. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a lesson I did with my TradeBuddy members after I traded AAGC, and I broke down everything about it. I talk about how I identified AAGC, how I identified that there are shorts trapped in it, and how I really just thought through the whole process of, a short squeeze. So this is going to be a lesson that it's going to have a lot of information. But the thing is, no one else talks about how to identify these short squeezes on YouTube. I can promise you that. No one is talking about this type of stuff. So make sure you get a pen and paper and take some notes down, because like I said, if you're a long biased trader, this will save you. And, honestly, if you're a short biased trader, then you should watch this too, so then you know how not to get trapped in these plays. All right, so enjoy. So, as far as a lesson for AAGC, you guys ready for this? Previous resistance, new support. All right, thank you all so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Any questions? Any questions at all? It's really that simple. And it's really that simple. I think the most important lesson that we can talk about today for AACG is, a lot of people we're very trying to be so exact with the level, right? I had Hassan asking me, is it 4 or is it 412? Is it 406 or is it 420? It's yes, all of the above. When it comes down to these big short squeezes, of course now, who the hell cares if it's $4 and 406, right? Who cares? And you have to kind of understand that in the moment. And there were some very important things about AACG that really ticked me off as okay, this thing has massive potential. 3 main things, okay? Number 1, it's a massive gap up on no news. And most people who are kind of, following a very rigid checklist, they would say, oh, well, one of my things it needs to have is news. This has no news. I don't want to touch it. So let's kind of think through that, right? Imagine you have a stock that fits all your criteria, but it has no news and you don't trade it. And then it breaks out. Don't you think that newbie trader is going to be kind of compelled to chase it? Because he's like, man, I was right. I should have gotten into it. Secondly, imagine all the short sellers who are like, wow, this stock is up 200% on no news. I'm going to short the hell out of this thing. Right? So having no news on stocks like this, one of the strongest things that could happen, because you'll have a lot of longs who sit on the sidelines and a lot of short sellers who pile into it. If this stock had news that they cured cancer, everyone's going to be buying very early on and no one's going to be shorting. So you're not going to get that big squeeze. So sometimes having no news is one of the strongest things you can have if the setup is right. Okay. So no news in this case was very good. Secondly, the chart, right? If you looked at the chart on TOS, they didn't have any history. Like on Thinkorswim, it was in all-time highs, right? Very bullish. All-time high gap up on no news. People are going to want to short that because it's up so much on no news. Okay, so you have to really think about how can we trap the other side. My biggest trades in my career are when the goal is to squeeze shorts. So I'm always thinking about how can shorts get trapped in this. My biggest trades in my career are always short squeezes. That's my specialty. That's where I live. That's where I thrive. Killing shorts. That's what I do. That's what my strategy does. If you look at the chart on E-Trade, you can see that like they do have previous history because this was a like previous ticker. It was a name change, ATAI, I think it was. I don't remember for sure. But we had some history that we could play off of on E-Trade. So I got these levels, right? Looking at the weekly chart. First of all, you know, very open chart, right? We have resistance at 260. Next level is at 650. After that is $12. After that is 17. And then it's all-time highs above that, right? Like those are some very wide walls to break. That's very good for longs, right? Lots of range, not that many obvious levels in between, but boom, after 650 goes double to 12. After 12 goes $5 to 17. That's very good for us longs. And then, of course, the most bullish thing was how it broke above pre-market highs. That is like the classic sign of a stock being bullish. If it can break pre-market highs, it'll likely be an all-day runner. If it breaks pre-market lows, it'll likely be an all-day fader. Simple as that. That's how we kind of choose the trends, right? Remember, the first long that I was in was, what was it? What the hell was the ticker? I forgot what the ticker was now. Freddy. Thank you. I already see you typing. THTX, right? This is the one that I was really bullish about. I was like, this is the one I'm focusing on. This is the one I want to play. And I got in at 3. But then market opened up and it looked really weak. Right? So I'm not going to stick around fighting it because it's not showing any strength. It's just fading off, breaking down below pre-market lows. What's the point? So I cut it real quick. Whereas AACG breaking above pre-market highs. And also a very significant thing which you really need to start kind of noticing is how much range these candles have, these 5-minute candles have, because that's a really telltale sign of how parabolic it can go if it does break out, right? Because like, think about it. Like if these small 5-minute candles are moving, well, look at this candle here, this tiny candle here. This thing had a low of $4.10 and a high of $4.46. Just in that candle alone, that's like 9% of range, right? Just about. Okay, 8%. 8% range in just that candle. Look at this opening 5-minute candle. Low of 350, a high of near $5. We would expect stocks to do that in the entire day, right? Like having a trade from 350 to 5 in a day, that's a damn good trade. And if you see stocks move that much in just one, look, it moved 40% in one candle. You need to take note of that and say, wow, this thing is moving like nothing. If it does set a breakout, it could go absolutely parabolic. That's why I said in main chat, the range in these candles is insane. It was a very important thing to note. Right? At 6 9:39 a.m. I said that. 9 minutes after market open, I noticed massive range in these candles. Has no news equals shorts could become very stubborn as long as it keeps building the levels. I knew from the start that this could become a massive short squeeze. So then, with all those things in mind, right? Having no news means that we could trap shorts like crazy. These candles have massive range. So like when you have that, all of those things in your favor, honestly, who cares if the support is 403, 406, or 420, right? It doesn't really matter in the end. Support is an area. And the simple fact is, whenever you have stocks that are very bullish and a lot of people want to buy into it, it's less likely to test that exact line, right? Because everyone wants to buy the dip and all the shorts who shorted early want to get the heck out. Now, this did end up testing the line chart perfectly, right? It went as low as 403 and I'm pretty sure low of day was like 401. So I mean, like even regardless of that argument, it still tested perfectly, right? This wick came down perfectly. As low as 403 on this one, as low as 401 on this one. But like one thing I like to do with stocks that I'm very confident on is I'll just look at, okay, where's the wick? Here in this case, the wick was at 425. If I get in 425 and it goes down to 4, I'm risking 5%. That's fine, right? I'm not going to be super picky for, having the exact cent entry when I know if I'm right and it breaks out, it's going to go parabolic. Okay. So, you can use the idea of look at where the top wick is. Now, of course, if the top wick was at like 460, then I wouldn't use it, right? Like, obviously, that's too high up. If the top wick was at like here, I wouldn't use it, okay? And I hope that's like common sense. However, because it was, a close wick near low fours in that overall area, I was like, okay, I'll have orders at 420, 415, 410, 406, 403. As long as I'm somewhere in the low fours, then I'm fine. And I'm really pissed because I had an order to buy an extra 2,000 shares at 403, waiting all day. And I don't know why it didn't fill me. This candle went as low as 401. I don't know why it didn't fill me. And I'm really pissed off about it. Because I was going to add 2,000 shares at 403. That would have been probably the biggest trade of my career. Still a really good trade, but kind of peeved off about that. One downfall was that I was like trying to be a bit too exact, right? I was trying to be too perfect with the entry. What I probably should have done was cut the order in half, have 1,000 at like 407, 1,000 at 403, right? It was kind of dumb to have all 2K at one spot so low. I'll learn from it. But then, from there, the rest is history, right? As long as previous resistance holds as new support, the stock will be very, very, very bullish. My first entry, by the way, was right into this first 5-minute candle, or the second 5-minute candle, buying that quick dip. So that was my first entry right there into this first 5-minute pullback. And then after it kind of set up and did a larger pullback, I had more shares waiting down to catch the dip. Because I know as long as previous resistance holds as new support, the stock is going to break out. And there were times where I didn't really know if we would see the breakout, right? Like I said, I think it was like somewhere in here where I was like joking, man, it's going to make me work tomorrow. Cause I was saying if this works out, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I was like, man, it's, you know, it's going to fail. It's going to make me not skip the day tomorrow, whatever. But you know, even though I was kind of worried that, you know, maybe this isn't going to work out, I'm not going to sell on that prediction. I'm not going to sell on that fear. Okay? And that's very important to understand. No matter what I think's going to happen, right? No matter how weak it looks above support, I'm not going to sell until it actually breaks support, because things can change very quickly. Here looked kind of weak. It looked like it was gonna like roll off almost. It looked like it was gonna roll off and fall down. But then only 5 minutes later, makes a very nice wick and then quickly reverses and looks very bullish. And then it goes for the breakout. So, I mean, as long as previous resistance holds as new support, you need to take the risk. Don't be so exact on what price you want. Like, if there are so many factors that hint at this being a very strong breakout, like, what's the risk of buying up 5 cents higher? If it has the potential to go, like, even on this one trade, right? Like, just based off of this range, if you're in at 4, selling at 5, that's still a 26% gain. That's a really good trade. Now, of course, with AACG, because I was very confident, and if this does break out, it's going to squeeze out shorts. This is one of those cases where I did not lock in partial profits at this first high of day. I just have experience with these plays where once you have this type of consolidation through the whole morning, if it does go for the breakout, it's going to likely break through. So I had my main sights set on 650s, 1220s, and then of course 17. But even with 650, right, because it was moving so strong, I was hesitant on locking in profits there. I was watching the price action. I was like, you know what? This is playing out exactly like I expected. I know shorts are trapped in this. So I kind of just sat back and let it do its thing. I'm happy I did that because it opened up, rallied like crazy. It pulled back, held 650, so that was good, right? That was really good. Very strong hold there. And then hit 1220s and I locked in my first profits. It's not even because of the candle. It's because of everything, Hassan. Like, everything on top of it, I just knew it's going to squeeze very far. Like, yes, sure, maybe that one candle is important, but it's so much more than just that candle, right? Like, because if I had a limit sell sitting at 650, it wouldn't matter how strong the candle was. It was just me having confidence that this is turning into a very big short squeeze. I don't need to sell so soon. And like, that's one thing too, right? Like when you're in a winning trade and you've held for 2 hours and it just starts doing like what you expected it to do, you don't need to sell so fast, right? You were correct. You were correct on the thesis. It's now doing the thesis. So let it do the thesis. So many traders will buy into support, hold it for hours, and then right when it starts to move, they take it off so fast. They take their profits so fast. And I've just learned that with these big setups, they're going to last for a long time. They're going to move further than you expect. They have more strength than you expect. And even I'm kind of learning on how to deal with it more because I sold too soon still, right? I didn't have to have limit sells waiting at 12, right? I could have just waited until now, where it's now showing some weakness. Now keep in mind, I'm talking from someone who's been trading for what, 6 years now. I'm not saying that you should not have limit sells waiting, right? That's your goal. If you see resistance levels and it's a really good profit, then you should have limit sells waiting to take profits there. I'm kind of looking at the next level of like, okay, I need to understand that these big setups, they move a lot further than I expect. And I need to just be patient in letting the move really play out. Yeah, these two candles were just profit taking, people taking profits. Yep. Or short sellers shorting it because they think it's up for no reason. It's selling. Like, even now, AACG really hasn't shown any sign of weakness. You could make an argument that it has a chance to reject that 1220 or that 13, what was it? What's that level right there? It has a chance to reject that. So like, ideally, what I would do is take my first profits into that. Right now it's shown what it could do. It's now showing some weakness. I should be selling my first piece into this 1380s. Because like the thing is, when you have these big, look how much volume there is, right? It's bigger than you. It's not going to just collapse out of nowhere. All right. So I mean, what else can I say about this? It's not rocket science. It really just depends on taking the risk, right? Taking the risk, seeing the bigger picture. And of course, locking in profits is very important too, right? So like I said, I locked in some profits into the 1223 daily chart level. And I sold a lot of my position into that because at first it tested it and then it kind of broke through and then it showed this little weakness. But like even this was me being too zoomed in, thinking that, okay, this is that head and shoulders forming. Even that was a bit too zoomed in. But of course, when you're up 200%, I mean, it's not really that bad to lock in profits, I would say. But I sold back into that because I was assuming that, okay, we have the fake breakout. It's going to bounce and reject 1215. Now I'm assuming that a lot of short sellers also thought the same thing. And that's why when it broke through, it squeezed even higher. And then it hit that next level of 17, which was also a weekly chart level. So now I'm just going to be watching the price action through after hours. And no matter what, I'll stop out the rest of my shares below 10. No matter what. And it'll be a very, very solid trade. Okay? Look at that AACG. Now it's definitely looking like a head and shoulders there, right? So like I said, that was the first sign of weakness right there. And if I was an even better trader, that's where I would have sold my first piece. Or maybe even sell some into the 17 because it's such a big profit. And then sell more into that head and shoulders pattern. So I mean, I'm very happy with AACG. Was a very awesome trade. Hopefully some good lessons for you. Really understand that support is not an exact point, right? It's an area. And depending on how much range a stock is showing, that could be a big area, it could be a small area, but overall it's an area. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that lesson. Hopefully there were some mind-blowing things in there, and some key things. Like I said, you need to keep trading very simple. My core thesis for my trading is previous resistance holding as new support. As long as that happens, the stock has a chance to break out. And make sure that you keep an eye on the bigger picture. If you're a short seller, don't short just because the stock is below VWAP. Make sure that you're looking at, hey, is it holding pre-market highs? Because if it is, then you might want to stay away, because I'm going to be buying it up and supporting it and hoping for that squeeze. So if you enjoyed this lesson, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you want to be notified for future videos. Also, don't forget to hit the bell too, because YouTube sucks. And let me know down below if you are going to try to use this on your next trades. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Be happy to answer them. And I'll see you in the next one.